Today I'm going to talk about Shadow Rift, the newest addition to the ammo mod roster in Black Ops 6 Zombies. It's really the only new ammo mod that we got in BO6, since Brain Rot, Cryofreeze, Deadwire and Napalm Burst were already established ammo mods in previous games, like Cold War Zombies. And because it's new, I was kinda excited to find out how it actually performs. But the bad thing is that you can only unlock Shadow Rift when you reach level 44, so it takes a bit of level grinding before you can unlock it. But is it worth it? Is it a good ammo mod to use? Well, today we will find out. I already covered Cryofreeze, one of the other ammo mods, in my latest video, so be sure to give it a watch in case you wanna know if it's any good. But with that being said, let's discuss Shadow Rift. Now normally I would start with discussing the major and then the minor augments, but in the case of ammo mods, I actually also wanna test out how the elemental weakness against certain boss enemies will play out. So I will briefly discuss that before I go over the major and the minor augments. In the case of Shadow Rift, well, there's one elite zombie that's weak against Shadow Rift, and that's the Amalgam on Terminus. If you shoot the Amalgam with a weapon that has the Shadow Rift ammo mod equipped, you will do some extra elemental damage. I tested that out in a game to see how fast I can kill the Amalgam with this ammo mod equipped. And yeah, to my surprise, it was actually kinda decent, but still bullet spongy in a way. It definitely took a few magazines of my weapon to kill it, but yeah, the elemental weakness is real and it did some extra damage. Now for comparison, I wanna bring up Cryofreeze with the right augments. Because I feel like I was kinda harsh on the augment Freezer Burn, which slightly increases damage to frozen zombies. And yeah, when you use the combination Freezer Burn and Big Game on a Cryofreeze ammo mod, you can do some decent damage on the Amalgam. But does it perform better than the elemental weakness ammo mod Shadow Rift? Well, when I tested it, it actually took a few magazines as well to kill the Amalgam. And that's with triggering the Big Game effect first to actually freeze the Amalgam and then weaken it. But from the looks of it, it doesn't seem like a big difference right now. The Shadow Rift elemental damage effect on the Amalgam is real. I just wanted to provide you guys with a comparison in case you were wondering. And with that being said, let's move on to the augments. We of course start with the major augments again first, and then we talk about the minor ones. And the first major augment is called the Big Game, and that's perfectly fitting for what we are gonna test next, because it allows Shadow Rift to also trigger on elite enemies, like the Amalgam. Now in case you didn't know, the base or default Shadow Rift effect on normal zombies allows you to kill them by warping them in a black hole, and then they fall from the sky. And with the augment Big Game, you can actually do that with the Amalgam as well. And yeah, basically that means if you get to trigger the Shadow Rift effect on Amalgam, it can one-shot it, straight up yeeting it away from existence. And that's just incredibly fun and powerful to do, I'm not gonna lie. But the big problem that Shadow Rift has as an ammo mod is that its cooldown is really slow. You can't always activate it because there's like a minute timer until it activates again. And activating it on the elite zombies like the Amalgam also is kinda random, since there's no guarantee that it activates when you want to activate it. But yeah, in some games, I've shot magazines of ammo into the Amalgam with this Big Game augment equipped, and all I could do was do elemental damage with my weapon against it, and that actually took it out as well. But I couldn't get it to warp into the black hole to fall from the sky, to kill it instantly. It's not guaranteed, but of course the likelihood of triggering this effect increases if you only focus on the Amalgam and not the other zombies. Because of course, if you shoot the zombies, you might trigger the black hole Shadow Rift effect on them and not the Amalgam. So therefore it's good if you can actually train the zombies and pick the single Amalgam out of the horde to shoot it every now and then. Then you have the biggest chance to actually trigger the Shadow Rift effect and to kill it instantly. The second major augment is called Topple Danger, and the description says, warp one enemy that deals shadow damage to others nearby. Normal enemies are knocked down while special enemies are stunned. And I tested that again, and to my surprise it was kinda bad, because it only Shadow Rifted one zombie at a time, and I didn't feel like the extra damage that the shadowed zombie does to the others was worth it, and it kinda made it a worse ammo mod to have, to be honest. Maybe I'm missing something here, but from the looks of it, it was like a bad performance in my opinion, and that's why I think this major augment might be the worst one out of all three. But yeah. And for the third major augment we have Explosive Rain, which states enemies that are dropped from the portals will explode on contact with the ground. And visually and practically that's actually amazing, because you just Shadow Rift the zombies away and they fall from the sky and do extra damage to the ones on the floor when they drop from the sky. So it's actually pleasantly to see how that unfolds, I would say. It's for sure the best augment to pick if you just want to have fun in the game, I would say. Now moving on to the minor augments, there we have Haste, which states Shadow Rift cooldown is reduced. And this one is kind of weird, just because when I did my testing I got some inconsistent results from my default Shadow Rift cooldown. It honestly ranged between 35 seconds to 1 minute, so on average I would say the default Shadow Rift activation would be more close to 50 seconds. So let's run with that, and for the augment that reduces the cooldown I would say it was around 35 seconds. So it was definitely noticeable, but Shadow Rift as a whole has a really long cooldown, and that's just something that you need to keep in mind when you use it. It's not something that you keep activating all the time. And if your goal is to just train the zombies and have a big horde behind you that you can shoot, then you might as well just wait a few extra seconds to activate it. So it's not something that you really need, but it for sure helps. Next we have the augment called Targeted, which states dropped enemies will fall on other enemies. And this one is also in my opinion kinda mid, because yes, they drop on enemies and it will like make some damage to them, but the big use from Shadow Rift is like warping the zombies away in the first place with the black hole effect. So dropping them on zombies after that is just a nice bonus, but not really needed in terms of usage. It looks cool, I'll give it that. And finally we have the other minor augment called Supermassive, which states the singularity's lethal radius is increased and can kill more enemies. Killing more enemies always sounds good in my book, so yeah, it's kinda useful because it increases the size of your black hole effect and just warps more enemies to the shadow dimension. So yeah, this one is also a great one to pick. Now that we have discussed the major and minor augments, let's review Shadow Rift as an ammo mod. And in my opinion, Shadow Rift is really a useful ammo mod to have, and I can definitely see why it's locked behind level 44. And when it comes to potential builds, there's like 2 possible ways I would go around this. If you want to have pure chaos and much going on your screen, I would pick Supermassive and Explosive Rain, just for a bigger effect size and like warping more enemies into black holes that then fall from the sky and explode on the ground for even more destruction and damage. It looks insane and it's fun to use. However, if you want to go around and kill amalgams effectively, I would go with the augment combo Big Game and also Supermassive. Just to have the best of both worlds, you can take out elite amalgams when you're lucky and get a critical ammo mod trigger, and yeah, this will one-shot the amalgams easily. At the same time you also have the Supermassive effect, which again increases the radius and can kill even more zombies when you activate it. So like I said, it's the best of both worlds. You can easily get rid of elite zombies, but also like rain zombies from the sky and have fun while doing it. The 2 augments, Targeted and Topple Danger, I wouldn't recommend because they seem like underwhelming, only focusing on one enemy at a time, and the damage that they cause is just not worth it or on par with the other augments like Big Game or Explosive Rain. But that's basically it. That's Shadow Rift reviewed for you guys. Let me know what you think. I hope I didn't miss something. Maybe you can come up with better combinations than that, but until then, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching and I see you next time.